On the night of July 2nd, 1995, police officers patrolling New Delhi noticed something deeply wrong. Thick, foul-smelling smoke was billowing out of the chimney of a popular local restaurant, long after the kitchens should have been closed. When officers went inside to investigate, they were met by a restaurant employee. He tried to wave them off, claiming the smoke was just the result of burning a pile of old political banners. But the smell was unmistakable. The officers looked inside the restaurant's tandoor, a traditional clay oven, and discovered the burning, dismembered remains of a woman. The victim was quickly identified as Naina Sahni. The man who killed her was her husband, Sushil Sharma, a highly connected, extremely powerful leader within the Delhi Youth Congress. The facts were immediate and horrifying. A high-profile politician used his resources to literally incinerate the evidence of a brutal murder. It looked like an entirely open and shut case. For a long time, the system functioned exactly as society expected it to. Based on the overwhelming physical evidence, two separate lower courts handed down a death sentence for Sharma. But Sharma appealed, and a full decade after the murder, the Indian Supreme Court intervened, overturning the previous judgments and quietly commuting his sentence to life imprisonment. This was a man who shot his wife at point-blank range and disposed of her chopped-up body in a commercial restaurant oven. Yet the highest legal authority in the country decided his crime warranted mercy. How exactly does the legal system look at an act of violence so severe that it traumatized an entire nation and find a reason to give the killer a break? To understand the court's reasoning, we have to look closely at the timeline of the marriage. Sharma had kept his union with Sahni a secret to protect his political image. He was intensely jealous, heavily restricting her movements, and even ordering his household staff to spy on her while he was away. The breaking point happened on July 2nd. Sharma walked into their apartment to find Sanya on a phone call with a male political colleague. Enraged, he pulled out his licensed revolver and shot her 3 times. This animated timeline flowchart tracks exactly what he did next. It maps out the specific criminal charges filed by the police, specifically Sections 120B for criminal conspiracy and 201 for destruction of evidence. Instead of fleeing, Sharma recruited his restaurant manager. Together, they wrapped Sanya's body in plastic, loaded it into a car, and drove to the restaurant, where they used the oven to destroy the corpse. The actions taken after the shooting were not the panicked mistakes of a man in shock. They required coordination, a dedicated accomplice, and a secure location. It was a methodical effort to erase a human being from existence. In the Indian judicial system, capital punishment is strictly reserved for the rarest of rare cases. To earn this designation, a crime must be exceptionally grotesque, diabolical, and present a clear ongoing threat to society. This split-screen graphic shows how the Supreme Court dismantled that designation. The left side represents the prosecution's claim that Sharma actively chopped up the body before burning it. The right side represents the defense. Because police never recovered a specific cutting tool, like a cleaver, the court refused to acknowledge that active dismemberment took place. Instead, the court adopted the theory on the right. They ruled that Sahni's limbs separated solely because of the intense heat of the oven. By removing the act of dismemberment from the official record, the judges legally reduced the brutality of the crime. Next, they looked at his motive. The bench concluded that Sharma's actions were driven by possessiveness and love. Because the murder was the outcome of a strained personal relationship, they reasoned it was not an offense against society as a whole. Finally, the court declared that Sharma had no criminal antecedents and therefore possessed a genuine capacity for reform. To make this claim, the justices had to entirely ignore the sworn testimony from the couple's domestic help, which detailed a clear, long-standing pattern of physical abuse. By isolating specific legal thresholds, the highest court in the country managed to take an undisputed, premeditated attempt to incinerate a victim and legally reframe it as a tragic romance. They officially stripped the crime of its rarest of rare status. Because of that ruling, Sushil Sharma avoided the death penalty. He managed his life in prison quite comfortably, leveraging his influence to the point where he eventually published commentary detailing how to exploit the specific loopholes of the Indian penal system. The legal and social fallout was massive. The public was forced to reconcile with the fact that a sitting politician could literally burn his wife in a commercial oven, and it somehow wouldn't meet the legal definition of absolute depravity. The precedent this sets is deeply alarming, If fatal domestic abuse and the calculated destruction of a corpse are legally categorized as mere possessive love, the justice system holds a massive blind spot for violence against women. The strict requirements of a legal doctrine were meticulously honored, while the raw, undeniable suffering of the victim was rationalized entirely out of the equation. We assume the law acts as a mirror for human morality, but sometimes the burden of absolute proof and the abstract nature of legal definitions twist a horror story into a loophole, leaving victims without true justice and killers with a second chance.